Hey, welcome to the garden. I know that I have kind of spouted off with a couple of videos on this channel and I have not fully introduced myself in a while. There are some older videos that I have where I talk a little bit about myself, but those are a few years old and I'm not the same person I was a few years ago. So I wanted to make a short video to introduce myself and tell you just a little bit about myself so that in any future videos you have a little bit of context as to where this is coming from and who's speaking. My name's Alyssa. I live in the great state of Wisconsin and I wouldn't want it any other way. We live on just shy of 4 acres on a hobby homestead, I would say. I live here with my husband and my 3 children. I have a 12-year-old, an almost 6-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old. We have a beautiful large garden, which is where we're sitting in right now. My husband so lovingly has built me a greenhouse and this amazing fence and my garden beds, and it is one of my most beloved hobbies as my grays are starting to come in, and I have just fallen in love with gardening. I've been gardening for probably the last 5 years or so, and I am no pro by any means, but I do love it deeply. And I think getting your hands in the dirt and learning old things and being a little bit more self-sufficient, or at least having more knowledge about the important thing of where your food comes from and how to grow it. We did have a bunch of chickens. We have lost chickens over the years, and we finally just lost our last one a few months ago. We hopefully are going to get a bunch more chickens next summer. There's a few crane flying above. We are going to hopefully build a movable chicken tractor with an electric fence that we can free range our chickens around the property with, but yet keep them kind of enclosed because my husband hates chicken poop on the driveway. So talking about poop on the driveway, we also have ducks. Ducks are like my favorite animal in the world. I'm obsessed with them. I decorate my house with them. I love to have lots of them on our property. We have 2 ponds, one in the front yard and one in our backyard, and they just live their best life out here. We have 2 very old ducks left, and when this busy season of life stops, I hope to add more and more to our flock. At one point, I think we've had as many as like 26 ducks, and I have hatched out lots of ducks. That's how we ended up with 26 ducks. And I've sold the hatching eggs before, and I've sold ducks, and like I kind of like to dabble in a lot of that fun stuff. And I haven't gotten I've always been way more into ducks than I have chickens. Obviously you can tell by my enthusiasm that I do like ducks. But hopefully we'll expand both of our flocks here in the future. I also am a beekeeper. I haven't kept bees in this year because of just the busy season of life we've been in, and we've kind of scaled back a little bit even though we didn't have a ton going on. But during the summers we stay really busy and with a baby, and also I have been dealing with some health issues since having my son, so I've been dealing with health problems for over a year now. Mysterious, unknown things going on, and nobody can seem to tell me what the heck is happening. So I've been dealing with that, and hopefully if you'd pray for me that will be resolved sooner rather than later, or at least hopefully I can squeeze every last drop of sanctification out of the struggling period of life that I'm going through, and in turn my family is going through. It is not as bad as it could be by any means, and I am not opposed to sharing more about that, but that video could be long, and sometimes it's not totally fun to just hear what people are complaining about. So needless to say, they haven't found anything glaring, like any cancer diagnosis or anything like that. It's probably all gut problems that's causing a lot of other complicated issues that they just don't see how it all meshes together. So I won't talk any more about that because that's long and a little bit boring. But anyway, I hope to keep bees soon. Again, because I love beekeeping. It is one of the most enjoyable, like, homestead additions that you possibly can have, I think. It is so relaxing. I mean, who doesn't like honey? And it is just a wonderful medicine that God has given us. And just being next to the hives and listening to them and watching their behavior, it really does something to your body. I truly believe that. I think the fact that beekeepers on average live a longer life along with gardeners, and those just type of hands-on in nature, outside, mundane but time intensive and work intensive hobbies that people have, it makes sense to me that they have a longer life. They're just so enjoyable. They just bring so much peace into your life. And so we like to do that. I also just planted an orchard this year. So we have a whole bunch of apple trees. We planted a bunch of cherry trees and plum trees, and I think even some pears, if I remember correctly. So we have a bunch of trees on our property that I'm hoping yield fruit in the next few years. What else? We got a bunch of stinking cats. We have 2 in our house, and then a couple outside mouser cats. Those are my favorite ones. I'm sure they'll make an appearance here sooner or later. They're kittens at the moment, but my husband and my kids really like cats. I'm more of a dog person myself, and again, not the season for a dog, and I don't know if it will ever be, because we do like to do a lot of traveling as a family. We camp a lot, and we hike a lot, and we go for long mountain bike rides, and we just are so incredibly active during the summertime especially, and the fall and the spring. But here in Wisconsin, our winters are quite harsh and long and cold, and with a young family, it's kind of hard to do lots of intense things outside for long periods of time. But I do like to cross country ski. I do like to snowshoe. I like to be outside, and I just enjoy everything. We like going on the lake, although we haven't done that in a number of years. But I like to wakeboard. I like to fish. I like to hunt. You can't live in Wisconsin and not like to hunt. I really love duck hunting. I like pheasant hunting. I like deer hunting, of course. I did do archery for a bit in my past. I haven't done that in years. I love to shoot. I really enjoy shooting sporting clays, and I really like, just shooting handguns and rifles and shotguns and all the things. I really enjoy that. I've been doing that since I was a young teenager, and obviously that bled into my career choice. So I was a police officer for a number of years. I don't know if I talked about this in this, but if I don't think I've talked about it yet, but in some previous videos I have explained that I was I was a police officer, and then when our family started to grow, it became apparent to my husband and I, and especially convicting to me, that the role that I chose to outsource to other family members was not the correct way to be. And so my husband and I made the difficult decision for me to stay home and quit my job as a police officer. I loved being a police officer. It's a great career. There are many different aspects to it, lots of struggling ones, lots of difficult ones, but the heart of it I loved. I loved talking with so many different people from so many different walks of life. I loved figuring out, or trying to help them figure out, complex issues that were going on in their lives, and maybe offering some peace and some love and compassion, but yet some stern authority when things needed that. I really enjoyed a lot of law enforcement. I loved the people that I worked with. I just really enjoyed the atmosphere. I love the camaraderie. I was an athlete when I was younger, all the way up into my early adult years. I would still consider myself an athlete, even though I don't play any sports anymore. But just that type of camaraderie really bleeds into law enforcement too. So, and if you're wondering, I played soccer and I swam competitively, and I did a lot of other sports here and there just to kind of keep up with my soccer. So let's see, what else? Any other interesting things? When I decided to quit law enforcement and stay home, it was a heavy decision that was made. And like I said, I made another video a long time ago when I did quit. This was like 3 or 4 years ago, explaining all of that. But like I said, it was just a deep conviction. And I think I had quit law enforcement right before this whole trad wife homemaker type thing was really popular. I was a bit before that wave of thinking, and I saw kind of a gap online and about that, and I thought I could maybe fill it a little bit with a voice online here on YouTube talking about homemaking and the conviction to stay home and take care of your family. And since then, a lot of people have filled that gap, and there's a lot of content around that. So I don't know that a whole nother voice needs to be added to that, but I love to talk about that kind of thing. I am not the best homemaker in the whole world. I am very much so a tomboy and always have been. So really embracing my femininity has been something that I have bumped heads with my whole life, but I am learning, and I have been growing in my femininity, along with holding true to just the things that I enjoy to do, but also realizing that the meekness and the patience and the just inherent feminine aura that women tend to have is something to celebrate and not something to hide, even though I personally enjoy a lot more masculine leaning activities, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I have felt like that's an important thing to talk about too, because especially with the time that we have lived in, if I would have grown up right now and I hadn't had the lovely family and a lovely loving God to protect me, I would have been probably overly tomboyish and probably had people trying to influence me that I actually was maybe a man, because I liked tomboy things and I liked more masculine things, and I still do, but zero part of me wants to be a man, right? But a young influential child could sway that way, especially if they were similar to me and they were rough and tough and they liked to climb trees and they came home with grass stains all over their knees and like had no interest in wearing a dress and hated to brush their hair and had all of these more masculine boy leaning hobbies that would lead them to maybe think they were not who they were supposed to be. It saddens my heart, because I think a wonderful mixture is to be able to embody the beauty of feminism. Well, not feminism, but the beauty of femininity is what I meant to say. And just really embrace also who you are naturally. Like, I might not really love to wear a dress, but I will, and I'll go fishing in that dress if I need to. I don't particularly enjoy doing makeup or think that that is like a really fun hobby, but I will do it because I think it enhances the beauty that God has given women. And I think more so having the spirit of feminine qualities that are often more compassionate and but yet very strong and very sturdy, and are able to give good, solid counsel to the people that they love around them, especially their husbands, and to be a really strong helper. That's not something to scoff at or think is not important. I don't want to go on a tangent. This was meant to just be a little intro as to who I am, and just give you a little bit of context when we have conversations about other things. So thank you for hanging out with me, and thanks for being in my garden and letting me chat at you for a while. And if you have any suggestions for things you want me to chat about in the future, please let me know, because I'm always looking. Otherwise, you'll get just random things from me that I have felt like is on my heart to talk about. So thanks for hanging out with me today, and hopefully I'll see you in another video.